Hello and welcome to the matchup presented by Unibet. You know Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson. If you don't know them, you should listen to them on Steelers Nation Radio with The Drive. I'm Rob King. Thanks very much for being with us. We're getting you ready for the 8-6 Bengals visiting the 7-7 Steelers. A rematch of a game played back on November 26 in Cincinnati. Obviously, the fortunes of both teams have changed dramatically since then. Dale, let's start with the Steelers because the Steelers, after that win, look, it's the first game without Matt Canada. You win 16-10. You improve to 7-4. You get over 400 yards of offense. Right, it's been 58 straight games without reaching that figure. And, you know, the outlook is rosy for the Steelers at this point.
Yeah, and then, you know, the kind of some of the injuries started to set in here. Obviously, you know, it's going to be even more so this week with both safeties out. You're already missing two linebackers. Kenny Pickett's out again, and, well, you know, their fortunes have turned a little bit.
And it's hard to believe, Matt, how the Bengals have done a complete 180 from their fortunes. That was a third consecutive loss. You don't have Joe Burrow. Everybody's talking about, well, the Bengals are done. What kind of draft pick are they going to have? And then all of a sudden, they've rallied and they've won 3 straight games.
Yeah, they've done a heck of a job the last 3 games, to be honest with you. They've really catered to their young quarterback, Browning. Ball's coming out quick, highly efficient offense. The defense still has problems, which I can't quite wrap my head around, but I kind of wrote them off for dead, to be honest with you. All their tiebreakers were bad to get in the playoffs. Burrow went down. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a wasted year in Cincinnati, but they've rebounded in a big way.
And 2 of those wins have been in overtime.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's been, you know, it's been a struggle, but they've found ways to win.
And their 3 games subsequently looked a lot more difficult than the Steelers' 3 games subsequently. But the Bengals have won all theirs, and the Steelers have lost all theirs. And the Steelers will be going into this game. Teresa Varley from the Steelers breaking the news on Thursday afternoon. Kenny Pickett has been ruled out for Sunday's game, or Saturday's game, actually, per Mike Tomlin. Obviously, these 2 teams playing on Saturday. So Mason Rudolph will get the start for the Steelers.
Yeah, and, you know, the thing with Mason, you know, they started Mitch Trubisky the last 2 games. The thing that you can't do as a backup quarterback, you may not necessarily be the reason why your team wins, but you 100% can't be the reason why you lose the game. And that means turnovers. And so, you know, Mitch Trubisky's turned the ball over too much in those 2 starts. So you turn it over to Mason Rudolph and see if you can get a spark there.
All right, let's take a look at the key matchups, and let's begin, Matt, with you, because the Bengals don't have DJ Reader. They're not a very good run defense. They're 28th in the league. The last time the 2 teams played 4 weeks ago, the Steelers ran for 153 yards. That sets up your key to this game.
Yeah, 100%. Najee Harris had a 99 in that game. That was with Reader. I mean, their numbers, their metrics, any way you look at it in the run game, are very poor. But especially when he's not on the field, they're even worse. They allow long runs. So I really think that the Steelers have to control this game, running up the middle at that defensive tackle, deficiencies at their or backups at the moment, with a physical, you know, 2-headed back style here, and control the game, win time possession, all those things in turn.
Yeah, I mean, that's imperative in this game. Again, you're down to your 3rd string quarterback in this game. Make life easier for him. Run the football effectively.
And the Vikings did a really good job with Ty Chandler last week against
those
guys.
And maybe run it on first down as well, because this is not a very good first down defense for the Bengals.
It really is not. I mean, they're one of the worst in the league in terms of allowing yardage on first down. If you could get into a lot of 2nd and 2s, you know, 3rd and 1s, that's pretty favorable for Rudolph.
I would think the Steelers would sign up for that
right
now.
Yeah.
My key is find Freiermuth. In that first game, again, people were wondering what happened to Pat Freiermuth. I mean, he hasn't been targeted this year. You get a new offensive coordinator with Matt Canada out. 9 receptions, 120 yards. His first career 100-yard game came against the Cincinnati Bengals. And I look for more of the same here. Find Freiermuth in the middle of that defense, although they're a little bit better now. They've secured that safety position since the last time these 2 teams have met. They're a little bit better in the middle of the field. But, Matt, this is another thing you talked about, the ability to find big plays against this Bengals defense. He had a 24-yard reception and a 29-yard reception the last time these 2 teams met. That's an area of weakness for the Bengals.
Yeah, it's a little bit puzzling to me, but tight ends are putting up huge numbers. I mentioned the run game being very effective against this group. You can have a lot of success on the perimeter as well, but they're, as you mentioned, 20-yard gains or more. They're like the worst in the league. You know, I mean, that's something the Steelers need to generate more of course.
Okay, so we'd like to see the Steelers run the ball on first down. We'd like to see them find Freiermuth maybe for some safe throws. That's not always going to happen. Obviously, we'd love to see it happen every single drive. If it doesn't happen, your key is to keep an eye on a former Steeler who can hurt you in a number of different ways defensively.
Yeah, I mean, they'll blitz Mike Hilton a lot, and they'll do it not just to stop the pass, but also in the run game to try to get the running backs behind the line of scrimmage before they can get to attacking that middle of the field. So Mike Hilton's, we know what a good blitzer he is. We know how well he times things. He's not the biggest guy, but he'll throw his body in there. And you also have a quarterback in Mason Rudolph who, quite frankly, isn't as mobile as Kenny Pickett or Mitch Trubisky. So I would expect to see them blitz Hilton several times in this game. And you better know where he's at, and you better be able to pick him up.
He has a couple interceptions as well. And when you think about the Bengals, Sam Hubbard has got 5 sacks. B.J. Hill inside. Miles Murphy looks like he's coming along with Trey Hendrickson in addition to Hilton. I mean, this guy's emerging as really an elite pass rusher with 15 sacks right now.
Very consistent, too. I mean, week after week, he is productive. He's going to line up against Dan Moore, and I would expect some chip help and things of that nature as well. Back to the Hilton thing, blitz pickup's been an issue for the Steelers of late, too. So teams are going to keep dialing them up.
All right, well, that's a look at the Steelers' offense taking on the Bengals' defense. How about the Bengals' offense against the Steelers' defense? That's up next when the matchup presented by Unibet continues.
Want to get gear direct from the team? Shop all things black and gold at the official Steelers Pro Shop located at Acrisure Stadium. Get the latest sideline apparel and hats, jerseys of your favorite players, authentic memorabilia, custom gear, and exclusives you can only find here. Don't forget, you aren't game day ready without a terrible towel. The Steelers Pro Shop has everything you need to be part of the legendary Steelers Nation. Come experience the Acrisure Stadium shopping environment or shop online at shop.steelers.com.
Welcome back to the matchup presented by Unibet alongside Dale Lolley and Matt Williamson. I'm Rob King, getting you ready for the 6th seed right now. The 6th-seeded Cincinnati Bengals at 8-6 taking on the 10th-seeded Pittsburgh Steelers. Of course, that wouldn't get you in the playoffs at 7-7. The last time these two teams met, when the Steelers had lost 3 in a row and the Bengals had won 3 in a row, was Week 8 back in 1986, which was a 30-9 Steelers victory behind Mark Malone. So maybe we can find a way to see the Steelers, pick up another victory. And the turnovers would be a big key. The last 3 games are in the 3-game losing streak. The Steelers -4. They've been very good in that category, but Cincinnati's been even better.
Yeah, San Francisco, who I think is the best team in the league, is number 1 in turnover differential. Cincinnati's right behind them. That was a distinction the Steelers have had for much of the season, and consequently, they had a winning record while they were protecting the football, taking it away. So I do think it's going to be a fine line of being aggressive but not turning the football over. It's an opportunistic defense.
Yeah, and earlier this week when Mason Rudolph met with the media, he talked about, hey, look, I don't have to go out there and play hero ball. So I do think he'll look at this in ways he's going to be thoughtfully aggressive in these situations. He's not going to put the ball in harm's way, because I think that when the Steelers were winning earlier this season, that was a big part of it, winning that turnover battle. You can't turn the football over, and so that's why one of the big reasons why Mike Tomlin made the switch.
Right, and meanwhile, the Bengals have been forced to make a switch. Joe Burrow to Jake Browning, who in his first 4 games has the 5th highest passer rating in the last 30 years. It's incredible. I mean,
really
the guys ahead of him, Pat Mahomes, for example. I mean,
Yeah,
you're talking
stars.
about Kurt Warner. Some elite players. What he's done is incredible. And a lot of what he's done is utilize his running backs and his tight ends, quick, short throws.
Yeah, if you look at it, I mean, he's completing over 70% of his passes, and you dig deeper into that and say, well, how's he doing that? Last week, for example, against Minnesota, he was 16 of 17 targeting running backs and tight ends. Now, it only went for 130 yards, so it's not going to necessarily be the thing that the cog that drives you down the field, but it's moving the chains. And then you take the shots to Chase, and you take the shots to Higgins. Well, he's not going to have Chase in this game. So, if you can limit that stuff, if you can limit what Higgins can do, then maybe you can tackle the catch there, and you better be able to do that because he's going to complete those easy short passes, a lot of it behind the line of scrimmage.
Well, we'll get to Higgins in a minute. That's my key coming up in just a little bit. But, when you look at the Steelers, meanwhile, defending the tight ends and the running backs, well, they've only given up 6 touchdown passes to tight ends all year, but they've given them up in 4 consecutive games since the injuries at middle linebacker and the safety. 2 straight games, Matt, with running backs catching touchdown passes. this has become a problem area. Something that Browning does well matches up with a problem area here for the Steelers.
100%. And much like when we talked about a week ago, the Colts, they use 4 tight ends. You know, the Bengals don't have a Kelsey or a Kittle, a Pro Bowl type guy, but they'll keep rotating them in. They're using 2 backs now quite a bit. And this falls on the linebackers and safeties, which we know are decimated because of injuries. They need to tackle the catch. I mean, even if they are completing these short ones, you can't let them get outside or break free.
Oh, and that is your key, right?
Tackle the catch.
So obviously they want to get rid of the ball quickly. You mentioned the numbers, 16 to 17, not huge numbers, but you better get those guys on the ground right away.
Yeah, I mean, Chase Brown's broke a long one. They're not a great after the catch team, especially with Chase sideline. Jamar Chase, he's phenomenal. But still, I mean, the Steeler linebackers and safeties are an area of concern.
Yeah, I mean, if they don't go after those guys, I would be shocked.
Sure.
Just because of what the Steelers have put on tape.
And Chase Brown is a difference maker. He didn't play in that game
Right.
when the Steelers and Bengals played earlier, and like you mentioned, just a short dump-off pass and a screen. He took it the distance against the Colts. He brings that element of speed. He's, you want to compare Jalen Warren to Chase Brown and maybe Joe Mixon to Najee Harris, the bigger, more physical running backs. This guy's been their change of pace guy. He's been very effective for him.
Yeah, he runs hard. He's a compact, strong player, but you mentioned the speed. Once he gets up to speed, I mean, he gets a high mile per hour count. I mean, he gets rolling pretty good. And he's got fresh legs. I always look at young backs this time of year that haven't played for a couple months, get thrown in there with fresh legs, they can jolt an offense.
All right, that leads us to my key. So that is if you get Browning into situations where he's got to go down the field, you have to keep an eye on T. Higgins. That to me means Joey Porter Jr. against Higgins, who last week had 4 receptions, 62 yards, and 2 touchdowns. All of that production came in the fourth quarter of that win over the Bengals. So he is their go-to guy now as far as making plays down the field without Chase in there. But Joey Porter Jr. has really been up to the task. His numbers are phenomenal around the league. You compare him to anybody in the league.
Yeah, it doesn't matter who you pick, veterans, rookies, doesn't matter. He's allowing a very low completion percentage. He's playing a lot of press man coverage. He's always on the other team's top receiver, and he's doing the job right now. And so, I know he's had some penalties and things of that nature, but you can live with those when he's doing what he's doing against number 1 receivers.
Yeah, he looks like a foundational player, hopefully for years to come. And I mean, they changed the defense because of this guy. They used to be a left-right corner team. Now it's, hey, Rook, go follow their best guy. I mean, that's a massive compliment.
Yeah, Matt always talks about that is something, it's not easy to do, not just even for the player himself who's doing the switching, but when you have guys switching back and forth when he's following somebody, everybody else's job on the field changes too. And so it's a big deal that not only is that corner doing it, but that your defense is capable of doing it. So communication is key, and we know with the Steelers banged up right now, those guys are going to have to communicate in the back end when Joey Porter Jr. starts following Higgins.
Not a day 1 starter, but maybe in the conversation for Defensive Rookie of the Year?
I think he's really put his hat in the ring in a big way. I mean, there's a couple good candidates that have played since week 1, heavier snap counts, but he never leaves the field now, and no one's being asked to do more difficult things than Porter.
Yeah, he's doing really high-level stuff here. I mean, even last year when Sauce Gardner won Defensive Rookie of the Year, he wasn't following the other team's best receiver. He stayed on one side.
Okay, so speaking of Joey Porter Jr., he is the topic of this week's Yins Chat trivia question. Remember, you can log in and find out a way to win awesome, great prizes, including jerseys, signed helmets, footballs, even a trip to the 2024 draft. And our question, which gets you, if you get it right, you're the winner this week, a Joey Porter Jr. autographed jersey. Over, under 2.5 turnovers for the Steelers. I'd love to go over, but I think I'm going to go under on this one.
Yeah, I think I am too, Rob. I mean, when you look at it, the Bengals have only lost 2 fumbles this season, which is the fewest in the league. Browning hasn't turned the ball over a lot. I mean, if you get 1 in this game, that's a lot. If you get 2, you're living large. I don't think you're getting over 2, though.
Yeah, I don't have much more to add to it than that, but I'm going under as well. I mean, they're the 2nd best team in the league in turnover differential.
Well, the Steelers will be looking to snap their 3-game losing streak and snap the Bengals' 3-game winning streak. This Saturday at Acrisure Stadium, kickoff is scheduled for 4:30. For Dale Lolley, Matt Williamson, I'm Rob King. Thanks for watching this edition of The Matchup, presented by Unibet.